Hey everybody, what's up? Today's match is against a min bettor who's also fairly loose. And start off with 6-4 offsuit. Gonna limp as I always do. And here we've got the double gut shot, which, a lot of players sometimes miss these double gut shots, so I can hit a 3 or a 7, and that's why I bet it fairly aggressively and pick it up on the flop. He raises 3x, and I'm not going to make a loose call with 8-4 offsuit, and he shows Jack-Jack, so pretty easy fold there. And limp with King-Queen. The reason I do that is because he's raised the last hand and didn't get any value. Some players will also raise the next hand out of frustration, but he checks and he bets 20 into this paired board, which frankly I don't really believe. So I'm just going to min raise him, try and make a little play here. I've got my 2 overcards and he folds. So he'll take stabs. Obviously we can work that out from the fact that he bet and then folded there. You've got 8-9 offsuit, and not a good board to attack because I'll get called anytime he's got a 2 or a 5, 3, 4, and a bunch of other times as well. So I'm happy to fold that one. 6-7 offsuit. Just try and min raise, see what he does. Insta call. This is a pretty good board for me to represent. I can bet here pretending I've got the ace or the queen, and I fire out 60 and he folds. That's the way it should work. It's only when you get called that things kind of go awry. And the min raise from him. I'm going to call that on King 4. You might think that's loose, but I believe I'm getting odds with a 3-1 on the immediate raise plus the rest of his stack. And a horrible flop. And here he bets 20 into an 80 flop. This is pretty bad play in my opinion. If I've got any sort of draw whatsoever, I can call. He's giving me fantastic odds, even things like runner draws. But with King 4 I've got absolutely nothing, and I'm a bit frustrated that I actually have to fold, seeing he's made such a terrible continuation bet. Alright, limping, and I get min raised, which I call, and once again this awful 20 bet into an 80 pot give me 5-1 odds, and I have absolutely nothing and can do nothing, which kind of bites, but never mind. And he raises 3x, he's picking up his aggression level a little bit here. And I limp my 7-3 suited. Just take a little stab at the board, get called, and I don't fire a second barrel very often, but I think the queen is actually a pretty good card for me to try and represent. So I bet 60 here, trying to put him under pressure if he's got a 2 or a 5 or air, and I get the fold. So as I said, not firing the second barrel very often, but I think that's a pretty easy card to fire on. He min raises, and I 3-bet him, which I don't do very often, but his pre-flop raising percentage has been pretty high. He's min raised the last 3 or 4 that I can remember, and that's a good and bad flop. Obviously I don't like the 3 clubs, but I do have top pair, a good kicker, and a gut shot. I'm betting 120. I don't want to bet too much. Give him some rope if he wants to hang himself. And he folds, so that's good. Alright, limp, and he's min raising me again. And these min raise guys can be annoying. Once again, 20 into an 80 pot. If I had anything here, I'd be calling or raising. And I have to fold, which is weak. And obviously I'll be making a play at some stage on one of those little 20 bets. I'd return the favour of min raising. Hit middle pair. get re-raised. He's telling me I'm beat, and I believe that I am beat at this stage. It's going to cost me 60 to sort of call, and that will be what, 180, 260 in the pot, and it cost me 60. So I'm getting about, what's that, about 4.5 to 1. I think I'll call, see if I can't suck out. And once again, this horrible 20, so he's now giving me incredible odds of, what is it, about 17 to 1 to suck out. So obviously I'll try that trick, and I can't manage it, and it's very cheap for me to call. But awful play by him to bet 20 on the turn there and 20 on the river. I mean, well, 20 on the turn was a real crime because he's given me such good odds to try and catch a 5 or a queen. And he's just lucky that I wasn't up to it. Alright, so once again, calling a pretty good hand, Jack 10 suited. Horrible, horrible flop. And this time he's changed his tune, he's bet out 80, so quite possible he's betting 20 when he's missed and 80 when he's hit. And if so, I'll be taking advantage of that, or trying to. And just take a little stab at this and pick it up. Once again, the min raise. And once again, he makes an awful continuation bet. And once again, for what feels like the 5th or 6th time, I simply cannot call. If I had anything, I would be, and doing my best to suck out at a very cheap price, but I just got nothing. And I think at this stage of the match, I was actually getting a little bit frustrated. Folded my 8-2 offsuit. And the min raise again. Finally, we hit something. And this time, I'm coming over the top. I've got something, and you know, that 20 bet's weak. He calls, and I fire out on the turn, protect myself against a diamond draw, and he folds. And once again, the min raise. And last time, or it was weak. I think this time it's weak. So I 3-bet his min raise, which is something I've been waiting to do, and get the fold. So he's pretty much telegraphing his play there with that sort of sad min bet, which I can raise, and he's pretty predictable. Alright, so I bet and get called. I've taken a stab, and now I'm just going to shut down. Obviously, I don't think he's going to fold once he's fired out that min raise, sorry, that min bet. So I'll just give it up. And the min raise. Horrible flop for me, and not much I can do here, so I'll fold that one. And here we've hit middle pair, and raising him aggressively, get called, and once he bets 30 there, I really hate that card, and 300 on the river. He might be bluffing, might have something like Jack 10, that's very possible. I mean, he's pretty loose, might have just hit his king, but 300's a bit much. I don't think I'll look him up yet. So yeah, I'm not sure if I was bluffed there or not. If so, well played to him. Alright, not a great flop. Now I've hit the bottom end of the straight, and I call 120. Looks like I'm beaten, and I fold, and yep, he had the right end of the straight. That's a problem when you've got the donkey end or the idiot end of the straight, that it only costs you money most of the time, or you don't pick up a very big pot. So things sort of grinding along and not particularly well. Here we hit our flush draw with 1 over card, and he bets. I think I just flat him, see if I can get the flush and get some value, and I can't, so now I'm going to try and push him around. Now I've still got some outs, so it's a semi-bluff, and obviously I've missed on the river, and as anyone who's watched my videos knows, if you are going to bluff, at least bluff big, and I've got two choices here. One is I can give up on the pot, and the other one is I can try and take it down with a bluff. He didn't look particularly strong, just calling my min raise, so I think I'll try the bluff option and bet 240 and luckily take that one down. If I had lost that pot, things would not be looking good. Alright, more min raise action. Here we hit a nice flop and he checks, which is not great. I bet because there's a lot of draws on the board and I'd rather take the hand down right now, which I do. And 2-3 offsuit. I guess even I have limits for the min raises that I'll call, even with all the implied odds. Okay, more min raising, and here I think I'm good. Raise it to 90 to protect my hand. I don't want to see a jack or a queen or a king or an ace or a heart get called, which surprises me. And this 30 on the turn, I think he's got some sort of draw. I'm not going to let him get away with it. And he checks it down. I'm happy to check. And he had a lower pair, so he was just trying to control me with those little bets. And we've hit the lead. Alright, typical start from him. Now he bets 120, and I'm not going to fool around with that. If he had have bet 30, I might have come over the top, but he can have it. And he's getting a little bit aggressive here, sort of raising 3x, and once again 3x. I'm just going to wait for a hand, be patient, and he lets me limp. And once again he fires out at the paired board. Once again I'm not letting him get away with that. Raise to 90 and take it off him. And more aggression from him, but he actually had a pretty good hand there with 9-9. And limping 10-2, take a stab and take down this board. These are the sort of boards I love to stab at when you've got a high, a middle and a low card. You can be representing the high or middle card and it's pretty hard for them to call. Alright, min raise, there's a surprise. And we hit a lovely hand of nothing, 10-10-2, also unlikely that he's hit it. So I come over the top of him simply because I don't believe that he's hit this flop. He calls, which is horrible. Not too happy about that. And now I bet 120. Obviously I've got some outs with to a 9 or a jack or a queen, I think. And he folds, thank goodness. Probably, I'm happy with my play there. I don't think he's going to have a 10 too often. And now more 3x sort of frustration or spite raising from him. And I think I've made enough plays on this guy. I'll just fold that one up. You can only get away with making plays so often, or eventually they'll come back to bite you. Here I'm min raising just to control him, and that worked pretty well. Call with queen 9, of course. And looking good when I hit a queen on the turn. Not looking good when I get check raised. I think he might be checking his ace here perhaps, or he might have a set. So I'll give that one to him. And starting the min raise a little bit to control him. Here when he bets out, I think he's weak, and I try and sort of take it off him straight away. Now that he bets the turn, I think he's not going to be pushed off whatever he's got. And it might be a draw, it might be a 10, who knows, but I think I've just got to give that one up. Alright. Min raise into control, and he's calling, and now he's betting this sad little 30. Not much I can do but give up there. I know that he won't generally fold very often. I mean, he has on a few paired boards, but I've had to fire a second barrel as well sometimes, and I just can't get away with that too much. Alright, stab to try and take down this board because he hasn't shown any interest in it, and I do. and fold my Jack 7. Blinds are getting a bit bigger, and that's pretty ordinary. But if it was King 7, I wouldn't fold it. And here we hit top pair, and lots of draws, so I try and bet to make him pay in case he's got a 10 or a queen, or obviously a lower pair like a Jack or a 9, or a couple of hearts. Alright, more min raising from him, more junk from me, and here I call. Maybe I'll catch something nice. I've hit the 5, which is good news and bad news, and I bet a pretty weak 40, and he folds, which is a bit fortunate. Alright, middle pair. Get check raised. Last time he did this, he had top pair, and he had queen queen here. No raising pre-flop. A little bit unpredictable, but certainly when he check raises me, or when he raises me straight away, it's been a pretty decent hand, so I'll keep that in mind. Alright, try and stab again successfully. Min raise, which I call pretty widely there, and maybe I should have check raised there. Now I've got a flush draw as well. This is horrible. I mean, I'd like to call with my flush draw and the chance that I can hit a 3 or a 10, and I do, and that's awful. So I've missed. I've now got bottom pair, and I'm not going far with that. And he hit the nuts pretty much on the turn. Lovely hand, sir. 2-5 offsuit. Alright, so we're down to a bit over half a stack. Things not going so well. And we hit top pair here. Raise and get called. 5 is an awful card, but I'm still betting fairly aggressively. No guarantee he's got a 5. And luckily we take that, get back up to nearly 1,000. And the min raise from him. And I fold my 6-4. Here we've got King 3 suited, and he's folded to us. 6s. And I'm calling the raise, and in fact shoving, which is a little bit aggressive. I'd hate to get called by a better hand, but he's been raising widely, and you know, not the greatest of plays. I'm only picking up 80 chips, and luckily I get away with it. Not really that impressive, but 6s don't play that well post flop. But on the other hand, I was probably just deep enough that I could play them for a set. Okay, folding my junk, min raised, completely miss, and so does he, I expect, and calling for the gut shot, hit our overcard, which is nice, and get flat called by a better ace, which is not nice. So things are sort of going along not so well, struggling a little bit, and not hitting that many flops. Let's try and steal this one with a bet, which we do. Whenever we're in position, we're picking up a reasonable amount of pots, I guess. Here I try the min raise to control him and actually pick up a pot, which surprised me. And bottom pair, he bets his weak 40 into 160 pot. Come over the top of that, get called, and now I'm going to have to fire the second barrel, which I hate. And luckily he folds to the second barrel. Once again ace 3, min raise, and this time he checks. And I'm getting good odds here to try and hit a 2, which I don't. And he bets 240, could have hit a flush or a little straight, or a big straight I guess with Jack 10, could have 2 pair, but I think I'm going to have to look him up here. And we caught him with a little bluff, which was nice. And that puts us into the lead. Alright, 25-50 blinds. And it'd be nice to hit a hand. I take a stab here on the turn and pick that one up, which was good. And here we come to the hand which really changed the match. And he's been min raising all day long, and I finally decided I'm going to 3-bet him pre-flop, figuring I should have some credit. So I raised into 300. Obviously not the greatest hand in the world to 3-bet someone on Queen 4 offsuit. He calls, and the flop is fairly horrible. I check, and he checks behind, which I guess is a good sign. The jack comes, and I take a stab at the pot and get called. Now things are not looking good at all. I really have to think here. What sort of hand do I put him on? I think he wouldn't flat call me with a jack here. Quite possible that he's got some sort of draw. I mean, he's called a 3-bet pre-flop, but I'm not sure how widely he would do that. But the sort of hands that I would think he might have here, ace 7, king 7, ace 8, ace 8, sorry, 8, king 8, queen 10, queen 9, those sort of hands. Alright, 4 on the river. I check. He fires out 350. Ugh. And now I've got something, but this is a pretty difficult bet to call. It looks like value, like he's got something good. So now I really have to think. Don't think he's got a jack. And if he's got sort of ace 8 or ace 7 or king 8 or king 7, would he be value betting it? I remember the time where he hit top pair with his ace and just flat called me. He doesn't look like the sort of guy that's trying to get really thin value. I mean, he's sort of checked down or just flat calls some pretty decent hands. I suspect that either he's got the nuts or he's got nothing. And if those are the two options, then, you know, there's a chance that my 4 is good, especially if he's got a missed draw, something like queen 10 or queen 9, which is what I'm hoping he's got. So I call. Luckily he did have the queen 10. Now I know I'm making this video after I've played the match, so actually, you know, when I'm discussing it I know what he's got, but at the time that was what I was thinking, that it felt more like a missed draw, could have been a missed diamond draw too, and I think I was pretty lucky obviously to hit the 4 and have him bluff an amount which was callable. So if he had have bluffed 600 there, I'm probably folding. 350 was just the right amount for me to call it. So once again, if you're going to bluff, bluff big. Now I've got the lead, and fold my 3-9. He's probably a little bit upset after losing that hand, and it's come back to me. So I folded again. This time 4-9, lovely. But once you're taking a big pot off someone, you've got to be a little bit careful because they're probably about to shove, and that's just what he does. King 10 I'm not calling on. If it was ace 10 I would have. I try limping with jack 9, and he shoves. Here I've got obviously middle pair, a gut shot, and sort of an overcard, but I could well be dead. I think I just look for a better spot. And I check this, and again, and not looking great, but at least I've got some showdown value, and it does go down to the showdown, and my king's good. Here I try min raise to control him. Nice flop for someone that's min raised. I can represent the ace with a bet, which I do, and pick it up. That works really well. Here most people would shove. I flat, and not looking so good, and now looking terrible. If he has any high card whatsoever. An ace, jack, king, 10 or queen, I have definitely lost, as well as a 7 or any other pocket pair like, 9s, 8s, 6s, whatever. And luckily he had complete random junk. And if I had have shoved, I might have won, or at least won that pot with a lot less hassle. So probably shove was the correct move there. He was down to about 10 big blinds. That was probably technically correct. And min raise, call, horrible, and pretty hard for me to bluff. If I try and bet here, he probably won't believe me, but even worse, I'll be getting called anytime he's got a jack or an ace. So, and now he shoves. That's fine, he can have it. And here we flop a monster, and I'm just going to be a little bit tricky there. I bet 100 on the turn, trying to get him to call in case he's got any sort of 10. And he calls. 6 on the river is not a great card, but I'm still going for a bit more value. And he folds. Shove. Queen jack's close. If it was suited, I'd probably call there. And here I try to control him with the min raise. It works even though he's down to 8 big blinds. And more shoving. Once again I try the min raise. Obviously he shoves, and min raising and folding there is pretty awful, but on the other hand, a couple of hands ago a min raise picked me up the pot, so I'm not too hard on myself for that. Might be a technical error, but it worked out okay. And I would have shoved or called with my 6s, and he folds. Nice timing, sir. I fold, and now we pick up ace queen. He shoves, and this is a very easy call. And even better, we pick up top pair. And as long as he doesn't hit a 5 or a king, we're okay. And that ends the match. So this was in my opinion, a bit of a difficult guy to play, because he's always min raising, always putting pressure on you. But you can see sort of the technical errors he made by betting sort of a minimum bet into a raised pot. There's 80 in the pot and he's betting 20. I mean, that's really weak play. So, you can learn from the errors that he made. And also his bluff sizing was a little bit low. If he did bluffed higher, he might have well ended up winning this match. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. And until the next one, run good.